Hello everyone and welcome back to the HCW YouTube channel. My name is Rate Wrestle and today we've got another Indie Spotlight. Normally it's a UK based one, which this one technically isn't, but he's coming to the UK. It's the one and only Stiff Robo Ginger, the leader of the Gary Cult. And he's not signed and he doesn't care. Gary J, how are you doing?
I'm doing terrific on an afternoon for me and an evening for you, correct?
Yeah, like it's weird. Like when you messaged me yesterday, you must have been like early, like afternoon for you, and I was already in bed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My schedule this weekend has been crazy. I had Anarchy on Friday, which is my home base,
Yeah.
and then I had a show Saturday afternoon, and then I got home at like 8 p.m. and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, "What do you mean I'm home on a show day at 8 p.m.? Like, what do I do?" So I watched Cocaine Bear, and I thought it was awful.
Yeah, it's not a great film. I went to see it in cinema. It's funny-ish, but it was just kind of a bit over the top.
I didn't really even find it that funny. Like, I was expecting to laugh, and I was like, "This is a waste of my fucking time."
Yeah, it was. There was. I say it was funny. I can't remember most to even think. Though I remember laughing at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll kick it off. We would. Oh, to be fair, I was discussing that you had a match yesterday. I saw on Twitter that you had took a Saito suplex on some concrete, which is a fun time.
Yeah, that's kind of the mantra right now. I mean, that's just what I do and who I am. It's one of those things where you do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah. So when I saw that on Twitter, I was thinking, oh, he's not but you're out for the thing. But everyone said you'll be 100%, and you are clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these kind of interviews, what we do on this channel, which is kind of like a "This Is Your Life" kind of rip-off. Except obviously, as we've already spoke prior to this, you've been going for a decent amount of time. So if we did like a proper "This Is Your Life," we'll be here for a good day.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it'll be a good day, but it'll be a long day.
So what we normally ask at the start is, like, what was your first wrestling memory? What kind of got you into wrestling?
Honestly, it was probably Macho Man Randy Savage and like his colorful, like just character outfits.
Yeah.
It was like 95-ish. But like what's funny is like I was an avid WWF fan, the World Wrestling Federation. I was a huge World Wrestling Federation fan, and like Macho Man was in WCW then. So somehow I just stumbled upon a Saturday morning watching Macho Man, and I'm like, huh, interesting. Because even as a kid, before I knew what wrestling was, you know what Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
Just the way it is.
yeah, straight away.
Just what it is.
People
You
know
know,
now.
and
That's that's first
yeah.
people that don't like wrestling think Hulk Hogan.
Oh, it drives me nuts. I was like, oh, you're a wrestler like Hulk Hogan? Yeah, like fucking Hulk Hogan. Do I look like Hulk Hogan? Come on, man. But Macho Man is kind of the thing that I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I dove into the whole new attitude era. And then, like, obviously, if you watch any podcasts or interviews with me or listen or whatever, Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time. To me, he's the best wrestler of all time. Huge fan of him. And like anything 96 WWF era is like I watch religiously still.
Yeah, like Shawn Michaels is my favourite wrestler of all time. So that's
Okay.
like when I was younger, like my brother, because my brother was a big Bret Hart fan, so he just miffed him.
Yeah.
Around that time with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
So when did you first decide that you were gonna kind of get involved?
Um, as like a young teenager, I'd always like had a mattress in some ladders, like in my side yard in the trailer park,
Yeah.
and I'd always just jump off the ladders onto the mattress, just acting like I was a wrestler. Eventually, I realized it's something I wanted to do when I really got like deep into like Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Like I realized like, oh, I can do this. Like this isn't some like crazy pipe dream. Like I can actually get in a wrestling ring. Which my first day in the wrestling ring was like I was the happiest kid ever. I was probably 16 or 17. Didn't know anything. I was getting trained wrong. I didn't care. I got to run around in a wrestling ring. What do I care?
Yeah.
But it's kind of something that just eventually grew into something that I wanted to do, and then I just kind of searched out a school, not a good school. It kind of fell upon me, and it was free. So, being that young, you have no money,
Yeah.
So you're like, cool, go ahead and train me. I didn't know what the right and wrong way of anything is. So, and it just gradually led into me like wrestling, not good at all, and just kind of it all snowballs. This is crazy how it is. And then now, 20 years later, I still don't know how to wrestle. I just act like,
Right, it's for someone that's saying that you've done pretty well for still going now.
Yeah.
So when was because the earliest match I could find, but I think you've been wrestling since 2003, haven't you?
Yeah.
But the earliest match I could find was 2005. So you'll have to
Oh, wow.
let me know. Do you remember your debut match?
My debut match was actually against Pierre Abernathy, my best friend, who
Yeah.
is also a member of the Submission Squad. And if you do your history and anybody knows that, that's like early roots, Gary.
Yeah.
It was at XWA in Fairview Heights, Illinois, June 24th, 2003. It was awful. I think it's actually on YouTube. I'm not sure.
I might go check it out.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You follow the trend of every person I've ever spoke to that when they say the first match and they go, "Yeah, it was awful." Which is like, no one's gone, "Yeah, I had the best match I've ever had."
Well, yeah, I got done with the match and I got directly signed. It went right to Stanford. That doesn't happen.
Because like the first match I found was yourself versus Pierre Abernathy, but that was for GCW, not that GCW though. That people obviously aware of in the UK. Yeah, the St. Louis one, Gateway Championship Wrestling, I think it goes by.
Yep. Was that in Cape Girardeau? Does it say where it was?
Yeah, because Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That's a pull, that is. Yeah, I was going to say that was the earliest match we found. Yourself and Pierre, like you've been littered in each other's career, as in like every match I could see, early matches, Pierre was involved somehow.
Yep, it's because like me and him, like he's my best friend.
Yeah.
He's actually he's the guy that pretty much runs St. Louis Anarchy. Me, him, and 2-3 other people run St. Louis Anarchy, which is my home base in the St. Louis area. And like, I love that place, but we'll touch on that later. But it's one of those things where we just started together because he's also started with me in 2003, and then we met Evan Jalistico. He's probably littered in those matches as well, and then we ended up just being a submission squad. It's funny because when we first met Evan Jalistico, we hated him because he wasn't in our like group of like friends.
Yeah.
But he's like those two are brothers. Like to the day I fucking drop dead, those two are my guys. Always gonna be my guys. And like Evan Jalistico doesn't really travel much anymore, but he to me is still very underrated, and he's an amazing aspect of wrestling. He's so good at everything he does, and he's really good at character development. Sorry, I like to rant.
No, it's best. Yeah.
But so yeah, like we would just travel. All three of us would just go everywhere every weekend for a little bit, and it didn't matter if it was a good show, bad show, mud show, shit show, whatever the kids are saying these days. We would just get reps in because we didn't care. We just wanted to wrestle, and the only way we thought we could get better is just get in a ring and try and do different things. So we would work with each other a lot, and that's probably why they're littered in like a lot of the first couple of years of my match listings, because people would be like, well, we don't know who you are, but if you want to work your friends or bring them, sure. Okay. Sounds good to me. We'll see you there.
No, that's how it works. That's how you get involved. Like the first few years, it was GCW, the Gateway Championship, and then I didn't realise until I've looked into it further, LWA, Lethal Wrestling Alliance, which was now is St. Louis Anarchy, isn't it?
Yep. Because the first couple of years of my career in LWA, I was Garrett the Barn Owl. I was like character driven. I didn't talk. I hooted and hollered and acted like a bird. So like the evolved Gary J, like one's at a thing for a couple of years.
Yeah, so that was going to be a follow-up question, Gary the Barn Owl. Where did that come across? But you've kind of answered it slightly that you hooted and hollered. What kind of led you to being the Barn
Owl? It was given to me because when we first started in 2003, the first show, like I said, we did was Extreme Wrestling Alliance, which obviously were in one show, and that was it. And then we met somebody, the name of Nick Tyson. He was Nightmare Nick Tyson. He might be in some of those early match listings too. No longer in the business. He wrestled a little bit, and he started training us. And then Adam Roth was probably some of those early match listings as well.
Yeah, everyone I can see. Yeah, you're pulling out names, and they're straight there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's crazy, right? It's almost like I know what I'm talking about. He kind of got involved in training us, and then we moved the ring because the ring was in a field in the middle of like a farm we moved the ring to his dad's diesel garage, Adam Raw's diesel garage, and then he started training us. And
Yeah.
he started LWA in probably like 2004, late 2003, 2004, and like we weren't good still. Obviously, we're only a couple months, maybe a year in, if even. So he gave us characters because he's like, "Well, we'll cover up your shitty wrestling with characters," which I hated.
Yeah.
I wanted to be Hardy. Like, come on, man. I'm
Yeah.
Jeff Hardy. No, there's already a Jeff Hardy. So then he gave me the Gary the Bar now because he's like, well, you need a character. Like, you suck at wrestling. He was being honest. This is the way it is. So then he gave me the character. I hated it. And then I started loving it. It was super fun. And I got to do a lot of stuff to like, you learn, oh, I can't really talk. Well, then how can I connect with an audience other than using words? So like,
Yeah.
got really good at body language, which I don't realize until like later years. I'm like, oh, that actually like helped a lot. So that's like the evolving of Gary the Barn Owl. And then like, I'm sure as you go through the history, then the Jakara stuff happens. And then like Gary the Barn Owl becomes like this huge like thing there with the Submission Impossible videos, which were fun as fuck as well.
And then with LWA, St. Louis Anarchy, you picked up the title there. Were you the first champion of that the promotion? You're the first champion listed, I can see.
For LWA, the first champion was Frankie Big Balls.
Yeah. Okay then.
But I did eventually beat Adam Raw, I believe, for the title. So that might be the reason it's probably one of the first things listed if it's a cage match or whatever.
Yeah, that's normally where I kind of go via. That's why.
Yep.
But yeah, so you were within that company and GCW for a while, and then you kind of started branching out into like 2007. I could see you were kind of going to a few more companies around. Well, these are mainly around St. Louis, or were they branching out towards?
Because of the time, we were just trying to get our feet wet or just get reps in. I say like, but like, it's weird because the mentality back then, it was a lot different than like guys breaking in now and everybody being so welcoming and like, hey, why don't you come here and help out?
Yeah.
A lot of times back then, you had your old vets, loosely based, that wrestle once a month that think they're like, well, I wrestled in front of 300 people once. Like that's the be all end all. Like they didn't treat us very well at all because we were all young and we were kids. And back then, I mean, I'm not very big now, but like I was even smaller back then. So I'm a scrawny kid. So they're like, well, you're not a wrestler, you know, we're going to beat you up or whatever. So like, it was hard to really branch out in those early years because we weren't really welcomed anywhere. So we had to like, back then, I think MySpace was a thing. So 2006-07, we actually just started messaging promotions out of the state, like Texas. If you look, Anarchy Championship Wrestling in Texas is one of the like big notable places that we went to for the first time. And they were like, oh, you guys are pretty good. We got booked because Darren Childs, who at the time was running it, I owe a lot to him because he gave us a lot of breakout there. Like he booked me and Pierre against each other thinking, oh, they're not going to show up. And we did. And then we started a very big relationship with HCW, and we were going down there during those like early years, like mid early years, like 2-3 times a month. And then you add Davey Vega to the carload, Matt Fitch to the carload. So we were going down there constantly. And I spent more time with Pierre, Evan, Fitchett, and Vega for probably 3 or 4 years in a car every weekend than I did anybody ever.
Yeah. I kind of watched prior to this as well. They did a documentary, The St. Louis Anarchy, on yourself. So it kind of gave a bit more insight to the Missouri area. Like they were saying, like there'd be like 14 or 15 promotions just around that one area, which is incredible. Like in the UK, you'll have like maybe 2 or 3 around the same area, and then you branch out a bit where it's like 14 around one area. And then. So, like, you mainly wrestle for them, don't you? You don't really, nowadays, you don't really go to more of the ones?
When it comes to anything like St. Louis Anarchy, I've decided is like, since LWA and then branching to St. Louis Anarchy and the fact that, like, it's kind of, I help tremendously. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I feel Gary J in that aspect is like, people are only going to come to see me at Anarchy. But if I'm working every local show and Anarchy, then why would I do that? They can see me everywhere. But if they only see me at Anarchy, they're going to come to Anarchy to see me.
Yeah,
And it's my decision. It's my own business decision. It's no heat with the other places in the area. It's just I've decided to do this because I have a big stake in the company and I want to build and help grow Anarchy to be what it is now, if not better. So that's my own decision. And I know a lot of wrestlers don't agree. Well, work where you want. It's like that's fine, and I have the choice to go anywhere I want in the area. This is my personal choice.
Yeah, and it kind of works, as you said, because if you've been with somewhere for like 17 years or so, and that's the only place that can see you, people are going to flock to that place, which obviously is
Oh,
going to help them
absolutely.
out. And
Yep.
um,
Absolutely.
so when we're moving on via that, so a company I've only recently got into in the last recent years, IWA myself. I saw that you debuted with them in 2008.
Yep.
It was kind of a mixture of the prior to you joining the submission squad, which we'll go into a bit more after that. It was yourself and David Vega versus Evangelisco and Pierre Abernathy. How was it working with IWA at the start?
It was awesome because like before IWA kind of just melted and Ian did Ian, as I say. It was a big deal because in 2003, 4, and 5, and 6, like they were running those Ted Petty invitationals, and they were like the best wrestling tournaments in the world. They were insane. The talent that went through IWA still got national TV and doing things. And like I like it was always a goal because Dingo, who's probably in a lot of that, I owe a lot to, and he actually just recently came out of retirement on Friday. Dingo was a huge help and still is. Little does he know he's been retired for 7 years, but he was a huge help in those early years because he would then jump in the car with us, and he was part of the carload as well. So like he got us to IWA, which was terrifying because they were known for like big bad tough guys like Necro Butcher and Matt Pondo, and like we're not deathmatch guys or anything. So like it was terrifying, but like we were in and out a little bit, and then I think I debuted against like my singles match debut maybe was against Cash Flow, and then like my second match at IWA was against Necro Butcher.
Yeah, that's a bit of a step up, isn't it, Necro Butcher?
Right.
How
Before
was it?
he was all
how was it fighting him at that point?
insane. Never really been in the ring with someone like that, prior to that. And it's a tornado per se. It's nuts. It was definitely experience. Yeah.
And then what I was going to segue for that. So the submissions squad, how did that kind of come about? And it's been going
the
for
original
years.
submission, yeah. The original submission squad was Nick Tyson and Pierre in the early LWA. And then Nick Tyson, Pierre, and myself would travel down to Texas, and like they were always like the bad guys, and I was always a Gary J good guy. Yeah. And then eventually, I think I ended up joining them in Texas, and then Nick Tyson kind of faded out. But during that time, Evan was going down to Texas, so like Evan and Pierre, like the two submission squad guys, like they were the regular tag team. And then me and myself and those two would do trios together. And then David Vega got pretty much anybody that traveled from St. Louis to Texas would end up being the submission squad. And then it kind of just branched out into like it got bigger than we thought it would be. Like because Evan and Pierre would always tag, and myself and Vega would tag, but like here and there, but we were more of the singles guys. But then there was times when we do like trios or 4-on-4, and then obviously we got invited to do King of Trios, 2009, I believe, at the ECW Arena, which, regardless of what you think of the match or how we did, which it was not a good showing, but I didn't care. I got to wrestle in something that was like the holy Mecca church of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
I get to go to the arena. So, like, obviously, the match it is what it is, but, like, that spawned a lot of things because then years later when they did the Jakar shut down angle and then we started doing the Submission Impossible videos, we end up being the ones that like save Jakar in the long run. So like it's a cool little story arc that like there's so many ins and outs of it, like so there's not enough time to get into it, but like that's kind of the origin of like the squad and how we've kind of evolved, and like I said, now it's not even a thing.
Yeah, it's but it was just you were with her a lot. It's because obviously I was reading through it on Cage Match and stuff. A lot of the time you were facing them, and then I noticed you kind of ended up integrating with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it must have been like the Shikara thing was really must have been very cool because like from the UK, when you think of the Indies, like Shikara was a big part of the coming over the UK as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
we were part of Shikara because I could see you had some matches with the Colony, which must have been a fun kind of way of going about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's crazy because like my favorite Jakara guy is How Wicked.
Mm.
Still love working with How Wicked. I recently, not too long ago, I worked him, and then Anarchy brought him in like before COVID and everything, and like I worked him there. How Wicked's awesome. I will always talk great about. He's my favorite guy from Jakara. He's the man.
Yeah, like I never got to see Alan Wicked. At one show he came over and I couldn't make it, which was pretty good. I've seen a lot of him block on demand service and so forth. Like he's very good.
Yeah.
So we're going to follow from that. So obviously you have faced a who's who of wrestlers. Like just looking through like so forth like that. The one that picks out in mind who's kind of gone like global massive at the moment is Mal Generico. How was
Yeah.
it fighting him around that time?
It was awesome. But he was like the only guy that I ever like. That was my dream match at the time,
Yeah.
which I think that was in LWA, and I believe that was in 2000. I don't know the date, but it was at Fairview Heights. No, it was in O'Fallon. It was in O'Fallon. That was nuts because yeah, I mean, it's El Generico. You know, it's
Yeah.
one of those things where, like, at the time, he was the hottest thing on the Indies, and obviously, you see what he's doing now. He's helping the orphans in
Yeah.
Tijuana. But no, he was awesome. And what's crazy is he came to St. Louis a couple times, and then there was times when he would sit in the van with us and go to Texas. So he would sit in the van with us for 14 hours to Texas and then fly back. So like we got to kind of know him, and man, genuinely great human being. Very funny without trying to be funny.
Yeah, like everyone that I've heard and spoke to has said he's just a really down to earth guy as well. He just
Yeah.
loves wrestling.
Oh yeah, exactly. Awesome. He's man, I'm so happy for his success. Like legitimately seeing him and just I'm like, man, that is amazing.
Yeah, and yeah, it was 2010 you wrestled him, 15th of May.
I was wanting to say that.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it's obviously just how long you've been around. So you got like Generico, you fought Carlo Riley, which is a big one. For myself,
Kyle,
like,
like I
massive
said,
on Carl.
Kyle was in St. Louis for a while. Kyle was a guy I learned a lot of my striking and like certain things from, like I still do. Kyle is probably one of my favorite people to work. I dearly miss Kyle. I wish he was still on the Indies because I would love to work him now. You know, me versus him now, I think would be amazing. You know, I loved working with Kyle, and I believe during that time out, Callahan's in there too somewhere. Sammy Callahan. Right before he went to NXT, like Callahan was another guy that I was like, that's like my style. That's like the shit I love. Like I worked him, and I still actually structure stuff and do stuff in my matches how he kind of taught me and helped me with. So like he gets credit for that. One of those things where like I haven't seen him in years because we worked. He was under contract. He went out there and like tore the house down. Like he worked his ass off. He didn't have to because he was contracted. He could have said, "Oh, I don't want to get hurt." No, he works his fucking ass off. And like one of those things where stuff like that I remember because he could have just came in there, gotten paid, and left. Because you know he's already on contract, didn't want to get hurt. No, he fucking went out there and worked hard. So kudos to him, and he's still killing it right now with like Revolver and stuff in Iowa and like Ohio. Like he's doing big shit with his promotion, which is awesome.
Yeah, like Callahan, like we did a seminar in Birmingham with him once, and like the stuff he trained with, it's just simple stuff, but it kind of adds to everything. Like he was showing us just like throwing a forearm. If you add a bit more body language to it, like lift your arm, it looks more powerful than just throwing it. And he's just a really nice guy as well, which his persona and wrestling you wouldn't expect it, but he's just really down to earth and a lovely, lovely guy overall. And then there was stuff like him, and then David Richards, who I've always been a big fan of wrestling. While he's just incredible.
David. He was there a lot during those years too, because he was from St. Louis, and then not from. He lived in St. Louis. He's from Washington, but like, he just kind of started getting booked on shows, and then I spent a lot of time with working with him. Like then it was still I think it was Anarchy then, and then like he went away for a couple of years, and then he recently just came back, and then recently just canceled himself.
Yeah, it was a bit of a situation. And then the big one, like I don't know if it's as big for you, but I saw you got to wrestle Jerry Lynn,
Oh,
which is just insane.
yeah, that was in Texas, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep. Jerry Lynn's awesome. I obviously huge ECW fan. Still watch Jerry Lynn matches from ECW. Him and Van Dam's trilogy and saga, great. And I remember like the first couple times of meeting Jerry, going up to him and go, "Hey, get mad or don't get mad." I go, "But how in the living hell did you put matches together with Rob Van Dam, remember all that, and then go out there and do it?" And he just smiled and told me, and I was like, "This fucking dude is awesome." Like he's so awesome. I love Jerry Lynn. Like legitimately, I'm happy now that he's got a job doing stuff in wrestling, and like he doesn't got to hurt his body or anything. And like he's awesome. He's one of those people that you say Jerry Lynn, and once again everybody just smiles. Like fuck yeah,
Yeah,
like he's
just Jerry Lynn. Yeah, it's because like obviously originally you only had a couple of tag team matches against him, but then you eventually did go in one-on-one singles, which must have just having a singles match against Jerry Lynn. It's just like
oh
a
yeah,
kind of like, exciting.
yep. I'm still talking about it now. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
I forgot. I got the rest of Jerry Lynn. Fuck yeah.
Like to look back on some of the people that you like I said, like Kyle O'Reilly, Jerry Lynn, just to think like randomly how Generico fought in 2010. It's just and now where they are now, it's just insane.
Yep.
Moving from that, this is just something. It's not. I don't even know if it's worth talking about. I just find it really random. That obviously you go by Gary J, Gary the Barnhell, Gerald James.
Oh,
A bit of a sideways name, but that's.
so I eventually switched from Gary the Barn Owl, and then storyline Dorian and my mom, who my mom, if you watch any of the videos or see any of the matches,
Yeah.
is Matt Jackson's brother in drag.
Okay.
And this is way before anybody kind of did stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like, but like I would treat it like he was my mom and Dorian was my dad, and like I'm a grown man. Goofy, but like I ended up winning the Anarchy Championship, and I had it for like ever, and
Yeah.
like that was during the time that was in Alton, so like that's like where we are still. That was when Gerald James evolved into like almost what I am now with Gary J. With like that's when I wrestled like the who's who of wrestling, like Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Davey Richards, Akira Tozawa. I also believe well, Evil, I think is his name now. He's in New Japan, but he was Wainabe back. He was Wainabe back then. I wrestled pretty much almost everybody, and like like they line him up and I knock him down, and I was a heel champion or was a bad guy.
Yeah.
But the crowd and the audience ended up just loving the shtick and like loving me because like at that point I was undefeated and I was going out and having good matches. So the crowd didn't want to be mad at me because like I was producing, and the crowd was like, we got to respect it regardless. Like he's going out there and having these fucking killer matches. I guess back then they didn't call matches bangers.
But yeah, you held the championship multiple reigns, but you held it forever, and that's probably where you got the respect because obviously you have to get to a point where a man's having so many good matches that you can't really dislike him. Like you can dislike him because he's good. That's why he's that good. It annoys me. And then like there were some matches in there like where you kind of started going towards like the hardcore element with it. There was like a 10,000 tack match against was it Adam Raw? Adam Raw.
Yeah.
How's that like one tack on my thumb I could do? I was kind of having like 10,000 tack matches in general.
It's interesting. Obviously, like when someone asks about it, you're like, "Oh yeah, you do this and that." It's like, no, it sucks. No way around it. It sucks.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't mind doing stuff like that sparingly. Like obviously, you have deathmatch wrestling, which is great. A lot of those guys are really good, and I feel like know what they're doing and they know how to like place and angle stuff and like build the stuff. And then I feel there's other guys that just do it now just because they want like bookings, internet clout, which that's a whole different conversation because like I don't want to watch you get like fucking killed or hurt because you want clout. That doesn't exist and doesn't pay my bills.
Yeah, it's
so like,
if it's done well, yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like any wrestling, if it's done good, it's good. But if it's done bad, you're like, eh. But you know, once again, anyways, I dabble in certain things and I like to have fun with it. But like, there's some stuff it's not my cup of tea and I won't do, and that's okay. It's not for me, and I'm very vocal about that. I don't think it's wrong. It's just not something I want
Yeah, you know, you shouldn't be forced to do matches you don't want to do.
to do. Yep.
And then via that, so we were going like this is kind of a huge jump because that was like 2015. So I brought up prior to the recording when I kind of started. I was kind of late to the Gary J party, as I mentioned to
It's okay.
yourself. But I kind of since these been like I went back and you found things. I watched the documentary previously, which I'm going to put the link in the description of the documentary because it's a really
Oh,
well done
sweet.
documentary.
Yeah.
But it was yourself. The first one I saw was yourself versus Nick Gage, and then you fought Warhorse the year afterwards. How was fighting Nick Gage? Because like he's insane. That's what I've been
Oh
told.
yeah. And
Yeah,
once again, that was home. That was home territory. Like we knew there would be money in the Nick Gage versus Gary J fight at Anarchy, and you know it all came together. And like, if you watched it, like he comes out, and like the crowd, the 300, 400 people in that building, they stand the whole time.
mm-hmm.
It's that Anarchy atmosphere. Still to this day, really almost nothing like it, which is awesome because I have a very big like claim in that, and
Yeah,
I have a very I help. It's good to know that like long days and hard work with something like that is paid off. But it's such an insane atmosphere. And then watching him react to my entrance when like I come out, because I think at that point I was wearing the Gary J flag like cape,
yeah,
and and I come out and everybody's standing, and then we pound on the mat for the entrance, and the Joker and the Thief's just fucking blasting. Like watching him just go from like Nick Gage to being like fired the fuck up Nick Gage, that's a moment too. So if you go back and watch it, you'll see exactly what I'm talking
yeah.
about.
It's suddenly like snaps, doesn't it? It's kind of that kind of
Yeah, it's awesome.
mentality. It's
It,
brilliant.
yeah, it's awesome. And once again, it's an insane thing. Like, you know, obviously I know I was getting to do, and it's just like, I knew there'd be money in this fight. Like I knew this would draw, and I knew like we could get some fucking people talking and, you know, actual get some credible buzz, not just randomness. So like, it was awesome. Nick's great. Awesome. Like obviously everybody kind of knows his story past, but
Yeah.
like overall, man, one of the most positive fucking dudes on any locker room, if not most locker rooms. He's the man. I'm just once again I'm happy for him too. Like just being able to do what he do, and like it seems like he's kind of slowed down on in-ring stuff, which is great. It's okay. You've done enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like he's kind of one of these people you can't really judge so someone's past on what they are now. Like
No, not
from
at
his
all.
story, like I watched The Dark Side of the Ring, like his story's it's insane,
Yeah.
and then where he is.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was the first time I actually saw you wrestle. And they said that I kind of got hooked into your matches because it's like fighting Nick Gage is a big thing, but you kind of like stood toe to toe and you blasted him,
Yeah.
and in them kind of matches. And then, as said via that, you fought Warhorse, which was an incredible match as well, which you did
Yeah.
pick up the win again as well.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, me and Warhorse have a fucking storied past. I mean, I'm the one who ripped his face off. So, so yeah. So if you that's on YouTube somewhere, that's insane. Yeah. That's we still like people still talk about that, and that was fuck years ago now. You know.
Yeah, like Warhorse, because he's come a lot to the UK recently. Like he's one of my local companies called PWL is the world champ there randomly,
Yeah.
and he defends the bout around the globe. Now he's just took the bout and left. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it is. But from that, so prior to that, what would you think like around that point? What would you say your favourite match has been? Obviously, it's
If I can
hard
remember,
the amount of
yeah, it's a big one. I'll name some people that I've had really good matches with that might be my favorites. Kyle O'Reilly,
Hmm.
one of my favorite matches. Hollow Wicked,
Yeah.
one of my favorite matches. Anytime I'm in the ring with Davey Vega, who at the time him and Fitcher were the besties. They've been over to the UK.
Yeah, best in the
They've done
world.
stuff.
Yeah.
They're to me now still, even though Fidget's taking a break from wrestling, probably the just saying Fitch and Vega are like the best unsigned tag team still to this day, even though Fitch is taking some time away from the ring.
Yeah. I saw Best in the World a few times at Fight Club Player in the UK before they kind of stopped. Just really underrated, and I watched them a lot in AAW.
Yeah, they're awesome
They're so
right
good there.
now. Yeah, Fitchett was their champion, and then Vega's their heritage champion now. Vega's on the best run of his life right now, like wrestling related. Almost no one compares to him. Like his in ring is insane.
Yeah, like really good matches I've seen recently from Vega, and then you were going. So it's Collaroli and Fitchett. Well, your favourite matches? Is there any more that you can think of via that?
Uh, Obviously, I've beaten up Warhorse a lot. He's beat me up a lot. Like even though we don't really get along, it's one of those things where we can make money fighting. We've done a lot together, and if, like say, if you look that up, he's involved in a lot of those. I'm trying to think. Like recently, I actually Anthony Henry not long ago at Anaheim. I had a really good fight with him. Anthony's another guy that I'm happy to see he's got something now because he's so fucking good. Anthony Henry, shit. I had a really good one with Billy Starks not long ago. John Wayne Murdoch, I had a really good. These are all at Anarchy too, so like they're all on YouTube.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where like I find things in most matches I have that I like, and obviously stuff I don't like. But like recently, I feel like I've been on a good run where I like most of the shit I do, which is uncommon because wrestlers, as you know, are the most nitpicky fucking people
Yeah.
things about themselves.
You brought up John Wayne Murdoch. Like, I'm glad you did, because like, I feel like John Wayne Murdoch's one of the most underrated wrestlers around at the moment.
Yeah,
Like, he's so good. Like, obviously, people instantly just think of deathmatch wrestling and kind of put people off. But John Wayne Murdoch, like his character and so forth, like that, and he's with ICW where he's just been like a crap heel basically. He's so good, John Wayne Murdoch.
John Wayne's he's awesome. We wrestled years and years ago at some small fucking like local random place, and we just had a wrestling match. It was great, and then we visited it years later at Anarchy and like had a really good match. And like I'll work him any fucking day of the week.
Yeah, like I feel like he's just very underrated as a wrestler. As I said, I think like,
Yep.
some people in the deathmatch scene just get instantly put in that bubble.
Yep.
It's like they won't be rated as a wrestler.
Most guys that are really good at death matches can actually have good matches, like without that stuff, and that's the difference. And then there's some guys that can't have good matches, and all they can do is death matches. That's where I look at the line of like,
yeah. And then, so from your favourite matches, obviously St. Louis Anarchy, I'm assuming you would be classed as your favourite promotion, but except from them, where's been your best place to ever work outside of St. Louis?
Anarchy, obviously home, near and dear to me. Honestly, it's one of those things where like what was it? It was during COVID, kind of, or right after COVID, was when I did my first pit show for ICW, I believe.
Yeah.
It was that was one of those things where I'd start seeing what they were doing, and I'm like, I think Gary J would fit perfect in that atmosphere of like the pit. Once again, I don't necessarily do death matches, but like the fight style and like what they were doing, I was like, so I would say ICW is pretty much just another place I like a lot, because say what you want about him or what you've heard about him, but like DeMonto gave me an opportunity when like at the time no one else did, and he kind of help get my name on that platform. And then anytime I'm there, I go out there and I fucking show out. Me and Aaron Williams had two really good not pit fights, chains.
Yeah.
Aaron's another guy. I have so many people. Aaron Williams, he was like my brother. He's also my guy in Unsigned and Don't Care. Aaron Williams is amazing. He's another guy I love working with. But we had really good two matches in the chains that were fucking insane. Recently, the one we just did was in Jersey not too long ago.
Yeah. Like ICW, they've been coming over to the UK a lot. Like I've watched them recently. They're just very well worked promotion. Like they do death matches, but they do good storytelling as well. The stuff with the Kirks has probably been the main thing for recent times. Casey Cattell and Brandon Kirk, who are incredible storytelling. And then, obviously, you mentioned, we're going to segue into like a COVID. What did you do during the COVID period? Because obviously, wrestling was just kind of halted for most people.
I don't know. It was a really like foggy phase, but like it's one of those things where at the time I got to take a mental break, physical break. Like I got to rest my body, which I have a very hard time relaxing and resting to begin with. But like I got to relax, chill, but like after a while, cabin fever gets to you and you get bored. So it was weird. I don't know. It's one of those things where like to me, COVID still hasn't gone away. Like now it's just more like, oh, you got the flu, you know?
Yeah, it's never going to go away.
No, and everybody was affected by it differently. At this point, I think I had it 2 or 3 times because I'm always out and about.
Yeah, like I had it once and it was horrible. I just felt knackered all the time, which it's just not a good feeling. So what we normally do around the COVID kind of talk is we kind of get to know you prior to the wrestling, well, outside of the wrestling. So are you a big music fan?
Yeah, I love all kinds of music. So like you asking like what
Yeah,
style or
favorite bands,
variety?
etc. Like that. Yeah.
Uh, uh, huge Manson fan, regardless of cancel or whatever.
Yeah.
uh, Nine Inch Nails, AFI. I love the Used, Slipknot.
Yeah.
But like, it's funny. I was actually just rocking out to "Jagged Little Pill" by Lance Morissette like an hour ago. Huge Katy Perry fan.
Yeah. It's
So
mixture.
like,
It's good. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but like, obviously, I'm still that like grunge fucking kid from high school that like likes like death metal stuff, you know. But yeah, I like a little bit of everything, but like whatever I'm vibing to at the time. But yeah, those are some things I like listen to constantly.
Yeah, it's because basically on the channel we started a thing a year back. Basically, someone challenged me to a music taste thing on Twitter, where basically I put my 3 favourite bands against your 3 favourite bands, and we put a poll and see who wins. I'm 4-1 down at the moment, so it's not going very well. So who would you say is your top 3 bands that you would pick,
Bands right now, I'll
or
go Slipknot.
artists? Yeah.
Yep, I'll go Slipknot, Used, and one more. Hmm. Slipknot, Used, and I'll have to go Manson.
Manson, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the reason this started out, because we had this poll, and the guy, his name's Corey McRae, he went, oh, I'll put my top 3 against your top 3. So I named my top 3, and then his top 3 were the Beatles, Queen, and Elvis Presley, and I was like, there was no way I could win that poll.
Yeah, you're gonna lose that one.
Like my top 3 are Oasis, Disturbed, and Avril Lavigne. So just a mixture of 3 random
Hey,
people. Um,
he's my favorite Canadian.
yeah. So, but yeah. So I'm 4-1 down now. I can't see my being Slipknot, Used, and Manson, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And do you watch many movies? You're like a movie buff at all?
Oh, I love movies. I actually noticed he got the Dark Knight Batman
Yeah.
standing right behind. Love Batman. Favorite movies, comic book stuff. Like I'm not huge on comic books, but Batman's my guy. I love movies. I like a lot of things. Like I love comedy.
Mm.
So yeah, like I have other interests outside of wrestling. It's just wrestling is consumed. But favorite movie, like that's not like a Batman related movie, Shawshank Redemption probably.
Really good, yeah. Because I worked at a place called HMV in the UK. I think it's like Sunrise Records in Canada. But yeah, so I was just always around films and music, so I just kind of became like a movie buffer, just watching anything for the point of it. So that's the reason I watch something like Cocaine Bear randomly, just because it's there.
Yeah.
But Shawshank Redemption's an insanely good film.
Yeah, anytime it's on, I have to watch it. And then anytime Forrest Gump's on, unfortunately, I
Forrest
have to
Gump,
watch
yeah.
it.
Incredible, incredible film.
Oh yeah, I like horror movies a lot too. I'm big like Saw those movies. I know they got kind of dumb.
I put my mate through because we do something called Shocktober, where you watch a horror
Yeah,
film every day for the whole of October. One day I put my mate through the whole Saw franchise, including like Jigsaw and Spiral and stuff like 11
yeah,
films, and it was just brutal by the end.
yeah. Like huge Saw fan. I'm a real big Michael Myers guy.
Yeah.
Halloween stuff, even the new stuff. The Rob Zombie stuff was my
Mm.
favorite, even though a lot of people weren't a fan of the second one he did. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, like it's one of those things where like I kind of like a little bit of everything. Same thing with television. Fun fact is like one of my favorite TV shows is Grey's Anatomy.
I binge watched that last year because I'd never seen it before, and it was just it was on some kind of demand service. It took me like 8 months to watch because there's
Oh,
so much. I'm doing the same with Criminal Minds at the moment, which is just it's the
Oh
same
my
kind of.
God, it's so good.
Yeah, I'm on like
I love
season
Criminal
7 of it.
Minds.
It's so.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just about to finish season 7, but like it's so good. But once again, it's like 24 episodes a season, is it? So
Yeah.
you're in for a fix.
I'm,
But
I'm really big into SVU too.
yeah, I've not seen
Yeah.
that. Yeah. But Criminal Minds, at the moment, my favourite character is Dr. Reed. I just love the character of him. Because he's just like obviously you have the agents and he's a bit more of like a memory box, and it's just funny to watch.
Yeah.
What would be your favourite TV series?
Yeah, favorite TV series. Hmm. I love Gotham probably. I know it's Batman related, but I really enjoy Gotham.
It was really well made, Gotham, like character-wise and stuff like that. It just kind of just got
Mhm.
cancelled out of nowhere, if I remember. It was just out of nowhere, and I was really gutted about it.
I was mad because then they had to like fast forward and they kind of rushed
Yeah,
like the season, which was still cool. But I'm like, there's so many more legs to this. But yeah, television's weird sometimes.
yeah, I don't like when something gets cancelled and it's like, yeah, we just need to get a proper ending to it. And it's like, oh.
Yeah,
'Cause, like my favourite series ever is The Sopranos. That was the one I grew up on. Really, really good.
yeah.
And do you game at all, or?
Not really. We used to like always like buy the new SmackDown Raw games and
Mm,
like skip school on Friday and spend all week and playing games. But like, not really. I really like. I want like I know we just said movie. We were talking about television and
yeah,
movies. I really don't sit around and like play games or watch TV or movies a lot unless like I have a lot of time. Because like
yeah.
a lot of times like I'm an outside person now, which is crazy. I'm like the old guy that like goes yells at the trees in the woods. Like I don't know, it's peaceful. And like the older I get, I realize that like I get peopled out, so I just need to like take my time and get away. But yeah, I'm not a big gamer, not anymore. At least I maybe used to be when I was like younger, but I haven't touched video games in
Yeah.
light years.
Yeah, like you said, like outdoors. Like I never used to be like I used to play football a lot, like soccer, like a lot of football. But I started to when it gets to the summer, I just sit in the garden because it's just nice. Yeah, when it's just outside, just to read or something like that, it's just like a nice
Oh yeah,
feeling. Yeah. Um,
yep.
so what we normally as well, so as I put out on Twitter, we got a few people asking questions, just general questions about it. There's one which you probably did see, which we'll bring up in a minute, but there's a few that you wouldn't have seen because we got DM'd them. So this is one that we normally get asked: is in a film about the life of Gary J, who would play Gary J? That
Oh man, me no. Man, that's a good one. Sami Zayn.
there you go. Do you know who'd be really good at that? His name's gone from my mind. JJ Simmons. I can't remember. I don't think he's called JJ Simmons. He's mine. He's
Actually,
JK
uh,
Simmons.
actually, like Sami Zayn's a good answer because people like if I have short, like back when we both had
Yeah,
short beards, everybody was like, "Oh, Sami Zayn." I'm like, no. Uh, uh, Jerome from Gotham, he could probably pull me off.
yeah,
I don't know his actual name. I'm trying to think.
yeah. I'm trying to think of a Jerome from Gotham. Yeah, like literally the person I thought of straight away for yourself was that JK Simmons. Have you ever seen him? From like Whiplash. He was in OC, not OC, Oz.
If I
Um,
saw a picture, I'd go, "Oh yeah, that guy."
Yeah, I'll
But
send
yeah,
you one on Twitter afterwards.
yeah,
Jerome's the guy who played Joker, wasn't it, in Gotham? Was it?
yep,
Yeah,
yep, yeah.
yeah.
I think he could pull it off because he seems to be like a really good actor. I mean, it's not like they're much to pull off. Just put your facial hair on and fucking be stubborn and wrestle for 20 years.
Method actor.
Yeah.
And then via that, we had one from a gentleman that you're going to be wrestling soon in Kumite. So I'll ask it the way he asked it. So ask him whether he fully understands what he's got himself into, wrestling the fucking King Freak. Ask him if he fully comprehends just how far I'm willing to go to prove that Kumite is my stomping ground, and ask him if he has any last wishes. I don't know if you want to answer that in a three-part prong
I
question.
mean,
You answer it in one go,
I
or
have no last wishes. I mean, if you want to feed me dinner before I beat your ass, that's fine. It's one of those things where I've been hit a lot harder by a lot better, so I'm not worried at all. I mean, yep, I know what I got myself into, and you act like this is my first rodeo. Let's not act like I've been doing this 20 years, and I just went down the laundry list of people.
Yeah.
And I'm not discrediting the old King Freak at all, because he seems like a bad motherfucker. So I'm really interested to see how this one's gonna go. So let's do the damn thing.
Yeah, it's like worked out really well because we had him on for the preview, which is actually getting released in like 2 minutes, which is weird. And he was on about via that. So Alton Thorne is a big guy, and he's kind of like a full-on just mentalist. And he's the king of the nettles as well. If you've heard this before, I don't know if nettles is the it's basically like a weed. I don't know if it's America you call it nettles, but it's like a one where if you rub it in your arm, your arm kind of goes bubbly and stuff like that. So he wrestles with nettles. That's his niche market. So I don't know how you feel of facing someone just hitting you with nettles.
Interesting.
It is an interesting
Well,
tactic,
we'll
isn't
have to see, won't we?
Yeah. So yeah, from that, obviously, you are coming to the UK. That's the reason we've mainly got you on, because I'm really looking forward to it. So you are wrestling Kumite May 21st.
Yep.
Where else are you going to be at?
I actually have a list. Let's see if my brain can remember it. I believe as of right now, my April 28th and 29th weekend, I think it's a Friday, Saturday, because I get to, I'm based out of Manchester. I'll be in Manchester on the 27th. That's when I land. That weekend's free as of right now. So if anybody watches this, has any shows or any contacts, please let me know. But then that following weekend, I believe I have PCW. Yeah. And then that's the 6th. And then the weekend after that, I have IWU on the 12th. And then the 13th, I have Title. Mm-hmm. And then the following weekend, I have Kumite on that Sunday. Right now, I'm confirmed for something that Saturday, but it's not announced yet. So I'll let them do that. And then the following weekend, I believe, is my last weekend there. I believe right now I have WXW on the 27th in London.
Yeah, I remember you sent me the list, so I just had a quick check. Yeah, so it's PCU May 6th, 13th IWU, 14th Tidal, Kumite 21st, and the 27th WXW, yeah. Yep. But yeah, so really looking forward to, obviously, I'm glad you're coming to Kumite, because you said it's the scene.
Yeah, I'm super stoked because like I like the atmosphere. It looks like cool, like because they're on the roof of the bar, or it looks like a roof.
Yeah, it's basically first time I went was earlier this month, and it's a beer garden. Like it's really like it's a closed beer garden. You've got the ring, and then you've got the benches. You come from like there's the stairway, the entrance is at the top of the bar, and you walk down, and the beer's really cheap there, which is always a bonus.
That's awesome. Yeah, it definitely looks like my kind of atmosphere. Like it looks fun, and like I said, I'm super stoked because like going overseas and just leaving my own country in this big of an effect. Like it's always been something I've wanted to do, and like we were talking before we kind of start recording. Like you're like, oh, I know who you are. Like I saw you do this. It's still interesting and weird to me that like, oh, someone from a different country like persistently knows my name and like stuff, and then just the fact that you're not the only one, which is cool. I'm super, super lucky. But I guess it's one of those things where like, if you do it so long and you get good at it, eventually people will go, yeah, of course you know you are. But I just play dumb, I guess, or I don't really think about that.
Yeah. Like when you first, because you followed us on Twitter, because I don't know if we post a lot of UK stuff, and like my mate, who he's not really into like the American like indie scene, he just went, oh, there's a guy called Gary J that's followed us, and I went, hold on, Gary J. I looked and when it's fucking Gary J. Just followed us, and that's why instantly I was like, no, I need to get involved in this straight away. Oh, fucking Gary J. I was just blew my. I went, do you know when you just kind of oh yeah, Gary J. Gary J. So it was a big thing.
Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. It's like I said, it's just I tell people still because I have a very large hand in like helping younger talent and like travel a lot with younger talent to help them, get rolling and get the feet under them. Like I'm just a guy, but I guess to other people, I'm not just a guy. Yeah,
like some of the best matches I've seen, so it's kind of like to then get you to, because obviously it's kind of, you never really got to the UK, so I thought I'd never have a chance to see you, so going to the UK and then you're fighting Alton Thorne at Kumite is the big thing. It's all kind of worked out well.
Like I said, I plan on making this trip well worth it. I'm gonna go over there and show people exactly what I am, what I can do, and like if I had to guess, it won't be my first or last. It won't be my first or last trip over there.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And then, so what I'm going to do is, you've sent me the list. I'll have that whacked up on the screen as well, just so people can see from there, and we'll tweet out a lot more about that. So what
Yeah.
we normally end up on is it's more of like a hypothetical situation. So if you had to have like a dream match from a wrestler that's around now, and then a dream match of someone that's either like retired or has passed away, who would be your like ultimate dream matches?
Um, Wrestler that's like passed or like not passed away, but like retired.
Yeah,
And listen to any of my interviews, Undertaker.
that'd be
Like
something, though.
he's my. It'll be interesting. He's my guy. He's another one. I guess like I can go on like 20 people. I can tell you. Or Mankind 96 would be like a match. Like because like I said,
as well, yeah.
Foley's the man. That dude's a sweetheart. Still, he's love talking about him. But like actively, there's probably one dream match left or fight, as I say. I would say, and I've said it before, and like if this ever came true, I could retire or just be as soon as the bell rings afterwards, I'd be retired. Masato Tanaka.
Masato Tanaka. I always liked, like, he was one of these guys I saw in HCW, but it didn't kind of click when I saw him when I was younger. But I rewatched it since, and I watched some of his stuff in Noah. It's still in Noah. He's just insane.
He is still killing it. That's the one I would call him out. He has no clue who I am. But fine. Masato Tanaka is the guy. That's the guy that like I was like huge Mike Awesome fan, Tanaka fan. And then, now that I'm in the business and like, oh shit, like I'd like to fight Masato Tanaka. That's the guy.
No, that would be a very good match. Yourself and Taka. So yeah, that's pretty much it from that. So that was a kind of going through your career, but said if we went through it like in depth, we'd be here for the rest of our lives. So as I said on the you won't see, but we've had your Twitter handle below for the whole of the show. So if you go follow you on Twitter, is there what other social medias go under?
Twitter's at Stiff Robo Ginger. My Facebook is just Gary Jay, and then Instagram is unsigned and don't care 85, I believe.
Yeah.
And then I actually downloaded that there was because everybody was worried about Twitter going down or whatever. What's that?
Was it Hive? Was that people were going about Hive for a bit? Yeah.
I thought today I'm like I'm just going to delete this because I really don't think any of these other three platforms are going away.
Yeah. Like, everyone was panicking about Twitter, weren't they, for ages? And then I saw a few people had Hive, and I completely thought it existed, so you just mentioned it. Like, I never even visited it. Yeah.
I set one up, and I'm like, I didn't understand it, and I'm like, okay.
It's just there, maybe. And then we'll put, like, obviously, sent on Louis Anarchy in the description and so forth like that as well. They do a lot of free matches on the YouTube as well, so you get to see yourselves. The documentaries on there, watch that, definitely.
That was awesome. That was one of those things where I was really happy the way that turned out, and like it was a really good like therapeutic story too, because obviously, as you know, like mental health will and always be a big situation, and now people talk about it constantly. That was really cool to watch and people to be relate like, wow, like it's okay to like not be okay.
Yeah, and like you said, like people kind of get involved in things. I'm like it where you're robotic, as in like you don't really show emotion. Like things get to you, just don't really show it to people, and it's better to kind of let it out because eventually you kind of just burst. Which I'm really stubborn when it comes to that kind of thing. But yeah, so anyone, if you're a big fan of Gary, watch that. It's a very, very good documentary, and he kind of led to this. But as usual, so as usual, like and subscribe. Mention if you want to get someone else on the channel. We're going to be looking further into America now that we've unlocked Harry J. We're going to try and push towards it. But yeah, so that's goodbye from myself, and thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. I had a blast, and definitely come on anytime you need me. Excellent. I'll talk about whatever we need to talk about. I like to ramble.
And I'll definitely be seeing you at Kumite, which will be nice to meet you in person. As I said, big thing.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.